you to gently close your eyes and take in a deep, deep healing breath, a sacred and holy breath, as we journey together into our heart of hearts. I call forth the infilling of the divine light of the Christ. I call forth a perfect circle of light and love to surround us. I call forth the holy healing breath of God to breathe within us. And I call forth the power of the Holy Spirit to move through us now, to move the energy into our heart of hearts, to bathe our hearts in the power of love, and to pour forth from our hearts like a river of healing light, touching each and every cell, renewing, restoring, and regenerating as it moves through us and around us in a halo of healing light. Imagine yourself in a beautiful sanctuary within your heart. You're surrounded in all the beauties of nature, plants and trees and multicolored flowers in full bloom. And everywhere you look, there are magnificent angels. And they whisper to you, "You are never alone on your journey, for we walk the path with you." And this comforts you. And all of nature bows at your feet as you walk through the sanctuary of your heart to honor who you are. You feel so loved, so blessed, so welcomed on your journey. And you notice a beautiful glowing light that is approaching you on the path. And as the light comes closer and closer, you're filled with a sense of awe and wonder of what awaits you. And out of the light steps the beloved Mother and the Christ within your heart. And they walk right up to you and look into your eyes. You can feel their warmth and their loving blessings. And as you look back into their eyes, you notice the reflection in their eyes is that of you. You are filled with a sense of peace and holiness. And you were reminded that there is no separation, that we're all in this together. And the beloved Mother embraces you and holds you dearly, heart to heart. Tells you that you are precious and so very loved, and that she is always with you on the path. And she places a blue rose upon your heart to remind you of her loving presence in your life. And the Christ reaches out with those powerful healing hands and touches your heart, igniting your heart in the power of the Holy Spirit. And that Spirit soars through you like a river of healing light, touching each and every cell, renewing, restoring, and regenerating. And you allow yourself to receive this blessing. And it lifts you up. It lifts you up. Every cell singing and dancing in the power of the Christ touch. You feel so loved, so loved. And the beloved Mother and the Christ take your hands and walk the path with you, that you may know you are never alone. And soon you come to a beautiful pool of crystal clear healing water. You walk into the water and sit down, and the water is warm to the touch. And the angels gather all around, as they did the day that you were born. And the Christ reaches down and touches the healing waters and blesses your head and your heart, bringing your mind and spirit into perfect harmony. And the angels gather the healing waters and gently pour them over your head, over your being, washing away all of your fears and worries. And you feel so blessed. And the angels lift you up into the heavens and wrap their wings around you and hold you dearly heart to heart. And they tell you how precious you are, that they are always with you on your path. They tell you that your loving thoughts, your holy visions are powerful healing medicine upon our planet at this time and are so, so very much needed. They lightly stroke your hair, offering you that loving, angelic, healing touch. And every cell of your being drinks that in. And the angels gently bring you back down to Mother Earth, bringing heaven to earth on your sacred journey. And the beloved Mother and the Christ take your hands once again and walk back along the path with you. And you know that you have come home. For home is where the heart is, and God is always home. As you walk back into this room, bring the thought of a beloved in your life that might be in need of your loving thoughts, your holy visions. And send them a blessing heart to heart, knowing that all blessings of the heart are indeed received in love. So do that now. And now send the angels to this beloved one to comfort and bless them. Know that you have reached out and touched another today and made an important difference in their lives. Now find yourself walking back into this room. And as you do, slowly begin to open your eyes and take note of how you're feeling. Take note of the energy that is moving through you and around you. Take note that this room is filled with the heavenly presence, and that presence is with you every step of the way on your journey. May you be at peace. May you know who you are, and may you live that truth. And may God bless you every step of the way. Our men, our women, and our children. I'm sure most of you have taken note that there's all kinds of things going on the planet right now. And you've probably taken note that the planet is somewhat reactionary. Why do you think that is? I'll tell you what I think. Because we are all energetically connected with each other and with the planet itself. And because there is so much fear on the planet right now. I think that the planet is giving us a message. It's letting us know that it is being affected by that fear. And it's our mission, if we choose to accept it, to turn things around. First inside of ourselves, and then contributing to our neighbors, to our country, to the planet itself. Because we have the ability. We are all made in the amazing divine image of the one, of the beloved. And we can turn things around. We have that ability. On the 31st of December, I was staying over at our friend's house, Ed Kozak, who's the minister of Charleston Unity, and I was to speak the next day at the church. And Margaret and I had been through some really difficult times in December, some things that took us to our knees. And I was really feeling sorry for myself that night. And I did not have a clue what I was going to say Sunday morning. Did not know what I was going to say. Nothing would come to me because I was so caught up in what was going on in our lives. About 2 o'clock in the morning, I heard very loudly, and it startled me out of my sleep, and the words were, "Rise up." And it was so loud, I thought somebody was actually in the room, and I thought I was late for the service. And I jumped up on my bed, not on the floor, on the bed, almost hit my head on the ceiling. And I looked around and said, "What?" And nobody was there. And the message to me was, when you are on your knees, when you're knocked down, to dust yourself off, stand up tall in your truth, speak your truth, live your truth, and be that truth no matter what is going on. And I was reminded of something that my spiritual teacher told me in Santa Barbara when I lived there. She said it's really easy to show up and be the Christ when everything's going great. Can we show up and be the Christ when we're in the midst of a lot of challenges? That's one of the most important tests on this planet. And I was downloaded all that. So I knew right then and there what I was going to talk about that day. Because I made a decision to get up off of my knees, quit feeling sorry for myself, dust myself off, and rise up and stand tall in my truth, no matter what was going on in our lives. And in that service, I was reminded of something, a story. I'm going to tell you that story. It's a rise up story. When Margaret and I were living in Santa Barbara, one of my jobs there was I actually did counseling with and ran groups for gang members, which was an interesting job, to say the least. And I heard all kinds of really interesting things. But Margaret and I did a workshop in LA, and we did it at this woman's home, who was an artist that actually worked with young gang members with art. And we did a workshop there, and she said, "I have this young man that I would like for you to talk with and maybe give some advice or some counsel." And she said, "He is a gang member. And what happened with him is that he was really disillusioned with what was going on in the gangs. And his brother was in the gang too. And he rose up one day, he stood tall in his truth, and he told the gang members, and his brother was by his side, that he no longer wanted to be in the gang. And his brother didn't want to be in there either. During that talk with him, with the gang, they beat the heck out of his brother right there in front of him. And they're about to do that with him too, because it's really hard to get out of a gang when you're in it. And just as they were going to attack him, another rival gang showed up on the premises. And there was an exchange of gunfire between two rivals of gangs. And the young man that we were talking with was hit by a bullet in that gun exchange. He was taken to the hospital, and they didn't think he was going to live. But he managed to pull through it. But he was paralyzed from the waist down. And they told him that he would be in that wheelchair for the rest of his life. Because of that, the gang members decided to let him and his brother out of the gang. While he was in the hospital, the artist that invited us to speak at her workshop came and talked with him. And she said, you know, if you use your creativity, it will help in your healing process. So he started doing artwork. And when he got out of the hospital, he started talking to young gang members about another thing that they could do besides do the horrible things that they do in gangs. And he invited them to use their creativity to do artwork. And his artwork got so good that he started showing in the galleries in LA. And they started having him guest speak to young people that were thinking about going in gangs to help them stay out of the gangs. And he actually became quite famous in LA because he rose up in the midst of this amazing challenge. And he went through that sacrifice of being hit by a bullet and paralyzed to turn things around, not only for his life, but for his brother's life, and for many other young kids that were either in the gangs and got out, or were about to get in gangs and were influenced by him not to make that decision. He became an example of when you get knocked down, you dust yourself off, no matter what it looks like. And you stand up in your truth, no matter what it looks like. And you speak that truth, you live that truth, and that comes from the heart. And when he talked to those gang members before he got shot, he spoke from his heart. He spoke his truth and said, I no longer choose to hurt anyone else, no matter what. That's not why I'm here on this planet. And if he can do that, in the midst of all that, I don't know if he ever got out of that wheelchair. I don't know. But he stood tall no matter what. So I want you to think about this. When I came back from Vietnam, I was very disillusioned with how I was accepted by this country. Very disillusioned. It hurt me to the core of my being. And I went to the University of Florida, and I thought, what can I do to blend in, to become a part of, instead of being hated? And I decided to become a war protester then, because that was big on the campus when I came back. But I was never one to protest the men and women that were involved. I was protesting the idea of war. But I was so angry in those days when I came back. I was so angry and disillusioned by that whole war. And I thought that by blending in, I could be a part of it and be accepted. But I continued to be angry and upset. And one morning I woke up, and that same voice that's told me to rise up said, well, David, what are you doing? What are you doing? And what is it that you want? And are you getting what you want? And I thought about that. I was young. I was 19, 20 years old at that time. I was very young. But it was a very new thought teaching. And I thought, well, what am I focusing on? I'm focusing on being anti-something, being against something. And all I was getting was more angry and more upset. And when that voice said, what is it that you want? I thought, what I really want is peace. I want peace in my life because I know the opposite of that. And I thought, no, I'm not getting peace. And so that voice said to me, if you want peace, focus on peace. I said, okay, I can do that. And that day I stopped war protesting. I stopped. I was still against the idea of war. But I stopped protesting and I started promoting peace. And I stood up in front of all those people that were protesting, and I said, you know what? Why don't we ask for what we really want? I know everyone here that's protesting, what you really want is peace. Why don't we start promoting that? And so I spoke my truth. I rose up, I stood tall in my truth, and I spoke my truth right then and there. Some of the people actually stopped and started promoting peace. And they started feeling better too. And I think Divine is really knocking on our door because we're at a major crossroads. It started at 9/11 and it's continuing. There's all kinds of issues going on right now. All kinds. Margaret and I are absolute 100% human rights activists. We are that, we live that, we believe in that, and we promote that. And I was down in Florida just at the same time that the shooting happened at Parkland High School. I was a couple hours away. And it just broke my heart to hear what was going on there. But since then, the children from that school and all over the country are standing up and speaking their truth about this issue. This is an important issue in our lives. I've been to war. I know what guns do. I know what they do. We have to now. Divine is knocking on our door. We have to stand up now and speak our truth if we want to turn things around. We didn't come here to kill each other. We came here to love and support and welcome each other and be there for each other. And God is asking us to carry that through now. God is asking us to be strong. We can't sit on our laurels anymore. We have to stand up. We have to speak the truth and take that into action. So take a look in your heart. What is your truth? How can you bring that forth on this planet now? How can we turn things around? We're really lucky in New Thought. I'm lucky. I was raised in New Thought. I grew up in that. And I know that we have access to a higher level of truth. I know that. And with that access comes a greater responsibility. For not only living that truth, but to speak it and to promote it on this planet. The Christ said that we could do all the things that he did and greater. I can't think of a greater thing now than to live that truth and example that for others as he did. We can make a difference now. The planet is crying out for us. We used to live in Santa Barbara. We were looking online the other day, exactly where we lived, where the mudslides came down, covered it. We couldn't even see the place that we lived in anymore. The boulders were so large that came down from the mountains. To get them off the highway, they had to dynamite them and blow them up. The planet is crying out for us, guys. It's crying out. We have to turn this energy around. We have to. We have to. One of the things that we're going to do in the workshop today is Psych K. Some of you have had that experience. But I want to tell you that this is an important therapy upon the planet because what it does is it helps to align the heart and the subconscious mind so that we can not only feel peace and create positive things in our lives, but so that we can contribute that to the planet because our words, thoughts, and actions make such an important difference. We can send out positive thoughts, positive words, positive actions, and create that on the planet, but we can also send out fear and egoic and survival thoughts too, and help to create that on the planet. Psych K helps us to stay in our hearts. It helps us to project positive thoughts and create positive realities upon our planet. Now, so I want to tell you a couple of experiences with Psych K. I was down in Naples, Florida about a month ago doing a workshop. They do not have a minister now, but they have an associate minister. And she told me, I was there about 6 months ago, and she told me at that time that she was, until they created a new minister, she was the one that was going to do all the talks and the workshops. All the Sunday services. And she had not done that before. And she was scared. She was not an accomplished public speaker. And she said, "Can you help me?" And so I worked with her for 1 hour. And we came up with the belief system that she was holding about her ability to public speak. The self-defeating beliefs that were holding her back. And we changed those beliefs, and we put in a new positive belief into her subconscious mind. And that belief was so powerful that it released the self-defeating belief. And I'm here to tell you, she started doing talks the next Sunday after that, and she's been doing them ever since. And she said she is getting standing ovations every single Sunday. She moved out of terror into terrific. Another, we were just at Marietta Unity. Margaret and I were there both together. And the woman, and we did some Psych K with her also. She said, and this was about a year ago, and she told us while we were there that she was having real difficulty with prosperity. So we came up with the belief system that she was holding about that. We changed the belief system, put a new belief system into her subconscious. It released the self-defeating belief system. She just made one of the greatest donations to that church that anybody's ever made, because everything turned around with her prosperity. And so what's happened with these people is that they've moved into a really positive, peaceful, confident place in their hearts. They're sending those thoughts and beliefs out to the universe, and the universe, which is like the big genie in the sky, sends back to them experiences to match the beliefs. So it's lifted them up. So they are doing great things upon the planet to give back. Why did that happen? Because their heart aligned with their subconscious mind. I am convinced that this is the ingredient that's necessary to actually accomplish what the Christ said that we could do, all of the things that he did and greater. This is where all things are possible. And divine is knocking on our door, asking us now to align this aspect, the spirit aspect of ourselves, with the brilliance of the mind, the subconscious mind. And then anything's possible. We can turn it around. We can create peace on this planet. And we can do that now. I highly encourage you to think about that. That's what we're going to do this afternoon. We're going to align ourselves with the divine in the heart and the subconscious mind. We're going to do some Psych K. We're going to do some healing blessings. Not just for ourselves, but for everyone and everything on this planet. Because that's what it's all about. That's what God is asking us to do. So close your eyes right now. Close your eyes and just take a deep God breath. Take a deep breath. And imagine yourself now in a conversation with divine. And divine is speaking to you and telling you that you are powerful beyond your wildest dreams. That you have the ability to make an important difference upon your planet right now. That we are all connected with each other. We are all connected with the divine. We are all connected with this planet. And it is our mission to bring the light. To bring the love. To bring the support. To bring the welcoming. To bring the healing. To ourselves. To our planet. To everyone on it. So see that now. See yourself sending blessing after blessing after blessing out to everyone on this planet. Breathe the power of who you are in that blessing. Feel the connection. Feel the connection with everyone on this planet. Feel the truth of who you are. Now take a deep breath. Find yourself coming back into this room in that power. And slowly open your eyes. Becoming fully present in that power. And if you're with me, if you're willing to take the next step and stand tall in your truth, then I want you to rise up right now. Rise up and reach for the heavens. God's dream come true. Let's bring that dream out and touch every soul on this planet and the planet itself. We can do it together. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.